So, September is one of the biggest hiring seasons of the entire year. This is where companies go all in. They typically have held off through the summer with finding talent, and they know people are busy with vacations and so on. And before the holidays hit, they want to use the headcount that they have. So, yes, I know we're like end of August, but September is a huge opportunity to land your next role. There will be more roles posted. And the great news is, I'm doing something super special to support you in landing your next HR role. So, this is for my HR professionals. I know that there are many people in different corporate careers listening to this. This is for my HR folks. So, I'm hosting a brand new live training session. It is completely free on September 11th. So, I want to support you in making sure that you take advantage of the biggest hiring season of the year and you don't miss that opportunity, and that you land a role in 2025 if that has been your goal. If you're listening to this with the goal of landing your next role before 2026, you need to be there. So this will be a free live masterclass on September 11th. This is only my second time doing it all year long, and I'm not doing it again until 2026. So if you're looking for your next HR role, you need to be there. I will be sharing the strategies that are currently working in today's market. I'm also going to be hosting a free live Q&A session at the end too. And the stuff I'm teaching is going to be brand new. This is what will help you stop guessing and actually knowing what leads to offers. So you can take action. You can get those dreamy interviews that you have been hoping for. And the best part is that it's live. You get to ask me anything. I offer support, and the energy in that virtual room is always incredible. So if you've been to my past trainings, then you already know what the vibe is. And this is the one you need to attend. And if you've never been before, then you absolutely need to be there. I have all of the details in the show notes. You can save your seat for September 11th live with me, and it's completely free. So swipe up, save it, and let's get into today's episode. I can't wait to introduce you to Sydney. She landed a dream role at a higher level with more opportunity, but she actually breaks down the shifts that she had from going from searching and feeling like she wasn't landing interviews for the roles that she wanted to actually landing her dream role. And she breaks down the behind the scenes secrets of things that we worked on together that really, really worked for her. And I can't wait for you to get inspired and hear her story. So let's dive in, and I will see you on September 11th. Hey, it's Irina Pozan, and welcome back to the Career Cravings Podcast. This podcast has a simple mission. It's to help ambitious professionals like you build the career and life that you've been craving. Over the past 15 years, I've worked as an HR leader, designed hiring systems, led recruitment teams, and I've sat on the other side of the hiring table. I've seen what works in today's job market, what doesn't, and what separates those good candidates from the ones that actually land their dream roles. Now I'm bringing everything I've learned straight to you. Each episode is packed with actionable insights and tools to help you land your dream role sooner. Now let's dive in. Hey, Sydney, so great to have you here. I'm so excited to dive into your story. And congratulations on your brand new role. I'm excited to dive in and learn more about how you got here, share any of your tips for others that are in the same spot that you were just a couple of months ago. How does that sound?
Yeah, it sounds great. Thanks so much, Irina. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So bring us back to the beginning. So before you and I met, tell me, where were you at? What were you looking for? Give me the scoop on where you were.
So before meeting you, I was in an HR coordinator role, and I was really frustrated because I wasn't seeing the growth potential at my company, and I knew that I wanted to be able to grow and scale my career. And I'd been working to elevate and just to kind of climb the career ladder within HR for a really long time. And when I realized that there was no more potential at my current role and there wasn't going to be a lot of opportunity, I decided I want to start applying for new roles. So I was casually applying in January and February of 2025, and I wasn't hearing anything back. And I knew also with the job market, I knew it was going to be difficult, but I wasn't really willing to wait. And that is kind of why I was wanting to seek help, because I just didn't I wanted to fast track my career search, my job search. So that's kind of where I was. I was stuck in a role where I wasn't making the amount that I wanted to make. I had bills I needed to pay, plus I knew I was going to be paying back student loans in the upcoming future. And so I just knew I wanted a new challenge and I wanted more for myself. And that is when I found you.
I love that. Okay, so I remember connecting with you and I was so impressed. And there were certain things in your profile that really stood out. And I'm like, oh my goodness, you're going to find the right role. And I was so excited to work with you. And what did growth look like for you? Like, what was it that you were looking for? So I heard the financial aspect. You were like, okay, I don't want to wait. I want to start, growing and getting into this role. But what were you looking for as your next chapter?
I was looking to become an HR generalist or an HR specialist, but leaning more towards an HR generalist role because I'd only had an HR coordinator role prior and then some roles adjacent to HR. But I wanted a generalist role specifically because I wanted to see everything that there was in HR as far as payroll, benefits, employee relations. And I just wanted to be able to have the opportunity to dive further into HR, into the industry, and explore what it is I like and don't like. And then I also was wanting to make at least 60,000. That was like my goal. So I knew that was like my target range given my experience. And then I was wanting more benefits as well because I didn't really have that at my previous role. And then I wanted to move into a company where I was going to have the opportunity to grow my career because I've honestly been job hopping for the past 4 to 5 years. And I couldn't seem to find anything that was stable and that was going to give me mobility to grow my career essentially. So that's what I was looking for is not only a role that was an HR generalist role, but a role where I could expand and I could really hone in my skills and develop into eventually, hopefully down the line, an HR business partner.
Yes, I love that. I love having that longer term career goal, like that 5 year plan, and then thinking, okay, what's like the quickest path to that? What's like the next step? So I love that so much. And then you made the decision or I guess, how did you make the decision to join HR Star? I know you mentioned like you didn't want to wait, but what was your decision making process and what eventually had you think, okay, this is it, I'm doing it?
Well, I had seen you across my socials. I think I had found you on Instagram and I started following you, I think back in 2024. And then I wasn't ready to make the investment yet, but I just was very intrigued by your HR experience and your HR knowledge of the industry. And then I was really interested after seeing like a lot of the results that your past clients were receiving and how they were able to close the job search timeline and not be searching for so long. That was something that I thought was just something that I wanted because I didn't want to be searching for months and months. And so when I came across you and I decided to reach out, I was just ready to take that next step. I was ready to invest in my career and not drag things out. I really wanted to know what it was that I was missing because I clearly wasn't converting my resume applications into callbacks and interviews.
Yes. And you were applying in January, February, not hearing back. And you're like, okay, got to do something different. Okay, amazing. So then once you were inside, you made the decision, you're in. What was the thing that surprised you the most?
Honestly, I think the wealth of information packed into the course and the modules, you really broke down every possible question that could be asked in the interview process. And you gave so many possible answers for wherever someone is in their career. And I think that is what made me nervous was like, well, I'm only entry level to maybe headed in the mid level of my career. And That is something I really appreciated, was how you broke down how someone who just graduated college would answer certain interview questions, as well as someone who is entry level, but all the way to someone who is a manager and VP. I thought that was amazing and just very insightful and so helpful. So I think that that's what surprised me the most, was just how in depth you went in covering all the basis of people's different, where they were in their career.
I love that so much. And when I created this program, my idea was like, since you have lifetime access, it's like, okay, amazing. You used it now when you're looking for that mid-level role, that entry-level role. But then in 5 years, you might be going for business partner and then things change. And then you could be looking at that next level, right? So I love that. Love that. Love that. And what part of the program had the biggest impact on you?
Truly, I think the one on one with you was the biggest impact, plus the group coaching calls. The one on one, first of all, surprised me at how productive we were in that one on one. And then you were just so helpful, so kind, but really dove into my resume and completely did a revamp of my resume, but it made me feel more confident, because the way I felt about my resume prior to working with you was, first of all, I was so overwhelmed about the industry experts and all the messaging on LinkedIn about constantly catering your resume and customizing your resume for each and every job application, which was exhausting and overwhelming because it keeps you guessing. Like, I don't know what to do with my resume.
Yeah.
And so in the end, I felt like I had like a kind of like a scrapbook resume. I had tips from this person and tips from that person, and I just kind of threw it all together. But then I felt like when you reviewed my resume, you really cleaned it up and made it so clear and concise. And it really helped to convey my experience and the value I would bring into my next roles, which I actually got a compliment on my resume during the interview process from the manager who was conducting my interview. She said, like, I love your resume. It's so clear and concise. And like, I can just easily scan the resume and see what your experience is and the value of your experience. And I was like, oh my gosh, that just made me so excited to hear that.
Yay. I love that so much. And like even seeing the confidence shift often from like the beginning of the call to the end of call and seeing the excitement as well. It's my favorite part. And yes, okay, so literally every single person says you have to customize your resume. If you're not getting interviews, it's because you're not customizing it enough. And I'm like, that will burn anyone out. Like you will not be able to apply to roles effectively when you're changing it all the time.
Yeah.
And there's only one way to describe your experience best.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts with having the clarity also of like the type of level you're going for and the type of role. And then it's so much easier from there. So I love that. Okay. That's a really good, like, like, okay, I don't need to stop. I don't need to do that anymore. Did you have any other ahas that came up for you throughout the program?
I think another aha was the way you coached us in the group calls to position our answers in a way that is positive, even if it didn't necessarily feel that way on the back end, because I just really liked your advice about not showing up with maybe the baggage or negativity of your old job or your past experiences, because I think it's so true that even though you might be honest, it doesn't present yourself very well. And so I just loved how you were able to coach us in conveying our answers in a way that showed, that we were able to overcome things and that we were able to turn maybe a situation that was a challenge into something that was positive. And so that really stuck with me and just kind of gave me that aha moment in my interviews when I was maybe asked an unexpected question of making sure to position my answer in a way that is positive and just kind of shows my character and my abilities.
Yes, I love that. I love it. I love it because you could be asked a really challenging question. You could be asked, like, what was the worst part about your job? What was the worst part about your last boss? Or, what didn't you like? There's so many questions that can come up that will steer you in a negative tone or direction, or even like a lot of people went through hard things like layoffs and, large gaps in their resumes and things like that. And it's hard or people had to leave for a very specific reason, right? Like even your growth, you were leaving for growth, that can come off like there could be a negative connotation to that in some ways, depending on how you position it. So I love when there's multiple truths at the same time, right?
Mhm.
You go through something challenging and that's valid and that's the truth. But there's always that silver lining too, right? Where it's like, okay, amazing. You outgrew that role, but what was the best part while you were there? Right. And then I love seeing people bring that genuine highlight and it changes the interview because people, especially in North America, we have such a bias for positivity.
Mhm.
Like here, it's not like this. Like when I was in Paris, if you smile at someone in the streets in Paris, they'll think you're dumb or like there's something wrong with you. Like if you don't know that person, you wouldn't smile at them. But in North America, if we're not smiling at everyone, it's weird, right? We
Yeah.
look like we something is wrong. So it's like there's this huge positivity bias. And I
Mhm.
feel like when we're making a first impression, we have to be so positive, even with those challenging questions, while still answering the question and while still being honest. So it's like such a fine line. So I love that takeaway as well. Okay, let's get to the good stuff, the wins. What changed for you? So you joined and like walk us through when things started to shift for you.
I think the mindset really shifted first. After having my first consult with you and you helping me revamp my resume, the mindset shifted for me first to have patience, but also to go in with confidence and to appreciate the experience I do have and that I was bringing to the table. I think that's where I really needed help was just to have confidence in my experience because I didn't before, but it was really that moment of you reframing my resume, reframing the way I saw my experience that helped me to shift my perspective on where I was coming from and where I was going because it's so easy to feel like, oh, I'm not qualified or I'm not good enough or I don't have this experience that when I finally started submitting my resume, I felt really confident about it.
Yes, I love that you started with the mindset first because that is where it begins, right?
Mhm.
If you're not confident, you might land the interview, you might land the role. It's really demoralizing to even apply because you'll wonder, like, why even bother, right? So, if we get a little bit deeper on that, what was one belief that had shifted for you that, like, mindset wise, what made you more confident after we connected? Was it like seeing your experience in a different way, or tell me more? Like, what was the shift?
I think it was seeing my experience in a different way, like I said, with you revamping my resume. It was definitely seeing my experience differently and knowing that it's really not just about your past experience and what you've done, but really translating that and showing that you have value to bring. And I also think too, working with you just gave me confidence because when I was seeking a mentor and a career coach, I was seeking someone whose shoes I wanted to be in. And given your experience and your track record within HR, I felt that trust with you and I felt a knowing that like I want to be where she was and that just kind of I think helped with my confidence overall and gave me that aha moment. And just knowing I had a career coach and a mentor in my corner that had been where I was before as far as like growing their career.
I love that. I love that. That's so sweet. Thank you so much. I think it's so important to have mentorship. Like I remember the first job I ever landed, there was a director of HR who was like 20 years ahead of me in my career. But I remember looking up to her so much and she gave such good advice and she was so kind and she wasn't my direct boss. She was like my boss's boss.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember looking at her and I was like, if I can have her job one day, like I'll just die happy.
Right.
It's such a full circle moment, but so good to have someone in your field where you can kind of see the steps that they took ahead of doing it yourself, right? So I love that. So let's talk about some of the wins, some of the results. What were some of the things that happened next? How did your offer unfold?
So I had 3 interviews in total. And the way I applied was another like networking. Oh, another thing, just to go back, is you encouraged me to network and to just put myself out there. So I made it a goal right after you reviewed my resume to really just put myself out there and make more connections on LinkedIn and to send messages, which is how I connected with someone else who became a connection on LinkedIn. And we had a coffee chat. And because of that chat and that connection, she also was able to kind of talk to me about the industry, career growth and stuff. But then she also was in my corner and sent me the job posting for the exact job I landed. And so I'm just so grateful that I was like, you know what? I'm going to network. I'm going to just put myself out there, like
Amazing.
Irina said. And once I applied to that job that she sent me, I messaged the recruiter on LinkedIn right away and I just said, hi, like I just applied to this role. I'm very interested. I would love to have a chat to discuss what you're looking for in this role. Exactly how you coached us to say it, which I just love the phrasing of like, I would love to see what you're looking for in the role because I think that makes it more intriguing for the recruiter to reach out. And at the end of that same day, she messaged me and said, I would love to move forward and let's schedule an interview. So I had the interview. Yes. The wording and the scripts that you gave us really, I think, just helped so much. And so then I had that interview. And at the end of my first interview, she told me she wanted to move me to the second interview. I did the second interview with the HR manager. And then at the end of the second interview, she told me she wanted to move me to the third interview. And that one was with the CPO. And then after that, I had to wait about 3 to 4 business days for deliberation. And they asked for references, which I did turn in. And then she told me I got the job. She called me and informed me that I did get the role. So in total, it took about a little over a month, maybe.
I love that. And I love that you put yourself out there because a lot of people, I mean, everyone knows you should be networking in this market, but a lot of people will hesitate because there aren't a lot of responses, right?
Yes.
Recruiters are flooded, their messages are flooded. So I love that, like, same day you get a response, or like, yep, let's just book you for the interview. I love that. And the coffee chat really helped. Like,
Yeah.
you never know what happened behind the scenes, but your profile could have been flagged by that person that you spoke to, right? To say, like, make sure you connect with Sydney. She's a great fit for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So love that you put yourself out there. And what was that feeling like when that offer finally came in after all of your hard work, the applications, the networking? What was that like for you?
Honestly, it felt like I could breathe again because that entire month of interviewing and preparing and watching your videos and just practicing how I wanted to respond, it was nerve-wracking, it felt like a lot of weight just because I really wanted this particular role. It felt like the right role for me. So once I heard I got it, I was so excited. I was just like kind of screaming in my mind and just jumping up and down inside because this was the exact role like I told you about when we met, that I wanted to be an HR generalist. And I was just shocked that like I landed the role I had sought out for.
I love that. And especially when you're working so hard and you're putting everything on the line, you're studying, you're preparing your responses, you're applying, you're networking, you're putting yourself out there, and then you attracted the exact role that you wanted. Amazing, amazing. And now you're in it. It's been a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Is it what you thought it would be? Are you excited? How are you feeling in the role?
I feel really excited. It is somewhat what I thought it would be because so when I actually received the offer, she told me that things had changed because it was a small team of 4 people that I knew I was going to be joining for the people operations team. But then the CPO decided she was going to retire the exact week that they wanted to extend an offer to me. So that was going to kind of change my role a bit, which I was a little nervous on the phone when she first told me, but it ended up being a positive thing because my manager ended up saying, we still want you to join the team. This role will evolve because it's a brand new role that they ended up adding to the team. And there's lots of room for growth for me to take on what I would like and to kind of dip my toes into everything, whether it's talent acquisition, payroll, benefits, compliance. And she also mentioned that by the end of this year, they would like to start kind of training me into a HR business partner role. So that really just excited me that from the first offer call that there was already opportunity for growth being presented.
That is literally exactly why you were leaving your last company.
Yeah.
That is exactly what you wanted. You already had that thought in mind for your next role after this to be a business partner. And it's just like all unfolding, which is fantastic. So, so good. And now it's just all about crushing it in the first 90 days, right? And
Yeah.
making the best first impression. Because I find leaders will, because they're just starting to get to know you, they'll often base promotion decisions for the following year based on like initial interactions, right? So it's like, it's such a great time to make that first great impression. And I'm so, so excited that that opportunity will be there as well. So good. What are you the most proud of throughout this process?
I'm most proud of just taking the initiative to take control of the job search process and reach out to you to work with a career coach and just to also reach out for mentorship because I know I wouldn't have this role if it weren't for having reached out to you, for revamping my resume with you, and then for being encouraged to make new connections and to network. So I'm just really proud of the initiative I took because I think it's really easy to sit back and be like, well, I'm just going to ride out this really tough job market and, everyone's going through it. And I'm just going to keep doing the same thing I've been doing and just throw my resume out to every single job listing out there. But when it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And we can't just keep doing the same thing on repeat and expect different results. So I think I was most proud of taking a leap of faith, even when it was kind of scary and it was an investment, but knowing that ultimately it would pay off.
I love that. It's so easy. The easy route is it would have been for you to stay in your last role, knowing there's no growth, being unhappy, or continuing to apply like you did for those 2 months without the results you knew you could be getting, and trusting your gut to be like, this is my career, right? And investing in yourself and doing that. I love that. What would you tell someone who's been on the fence? Because you said we connected in 2024, you tried it yourself, and then decided to join HR Star. But what would you tell someone who's in the thick of it right now, also applying, may not be getting the results that they're looking for? What would you tell them knowing what you know now?
Knowing what I know now is we are in a really challenging job market and we are seeing unprecedented things in this job market. And I really think that you shouldn't go it alone. I think that the landscape of this job market is ever changing and companies don't know what they're doing as far as like so many layoffs happening. Recruiters don't even know what's going on. And so I think instead of, throwing spaghetti at the wall and just guessing what you should be doing, you should really lock in a strategy and seek help from someone, especially someone within your field. So I think it's just so important, especially if you're in HR, to seek out mentorship, coaching, and get industry insight because you don't know everything and it's okay that you don't know everything. It's okay to seek help, to seek mentorship. And oftentimes your investment will return to you tenfold because like you said, I would still be stuck at my old job and I wouldn't be in this new role, having really great benefits, having higher pay. And so I would just tell other people to take the time to invest in yourself. That's the biggest thing that you can do.
Beautiful. I'm so happy that everything worked out the way that you wanted when you joined. And even seeing like the future opportunity that you want next, already something that's talked about is so, so exciting. And I'm so happy the way everything that unfolded and that our paths crossed. Last question for you. So you gave advice to someone else who may have been in your shoes. What would you have told your past self, like even 8 months ago, 9 months ago, based on where you are now?
I would tell my past self that it's all going to work out, but you have to be moving in the direction that you want. And you can't stay stagnant and you can't let fear stop you from taking action. I would also say, don't let the news and what everyone else is doing be what you're doing. Just continue to be curious, carve your own path, and seek guidance.
I love that. I love that so much. And you're right. So many people right now hear all of the negativity, right? Because
Mm.
it's everywhere. And they focus on that and they assume that it's normal and maybe they should give up on, the role that they're looking for or just stay stagnant because of how challenging it is. But there is another way, right? So I love that you invested in yourself and I love how everything has turned out as well. Thank you so much for joining. Any last words?
Just thank you so much, Irina. Thank you for your time. Thank you for working with me. And I'm just so grateful.
Thank you so much. So grateful.
Wait. Before you go, if you have not saved your seat for my live training that's coming up on September 11th, it is the only one, the last one I'm doing for 2025. What are you even doing? If you're looking for your next HR role, I need you to be there. It is going to be incredible. Save your seat. The link is in the show notes. Just swipe up and I cannot wait to see you there. See you in the next episode. Hey, before you go, if you've enjoyed listening to today's show, I would love your support. Please take a moment to leave a review anywhere where you listen to podcasts. And here's the exciting part. I'm running a special contest and giving away a one-on-one session with yours truly. All you have to do is leave a review, take a screenshot, and send it to me in my DMs. All of my contact info is in the show notes. I appreciate you so much, and I cannot wait to build the career and life that you've been craving together. See you next week.